Well, it's official. We survived our first week. Welcome to week 2 in our workshop. There's quite a lot to do and it's time for a to-do list.
Right, so the first thing on the to-do list is to finish the table saw bench. After that, I want to finish our casting benches, finish leveling them and fix them to the floor and to each other. I do need to organize because the workshop is a mess. I do need to fix a few of the tools in place, and last week we lost our metal chop saw. It just died, so before I buy a new one I will try to fix it. We need to make an A-frame which I'll be using to store our sheet material. It's easier to move around. We also need to make a vibrating table, and hopefully by that point the workshop will be ready for us to start casting. We need to do new samples and start casting sinks and working on orders. Low on the to-do list is our office. This will be done whenever we have time. I really want to make a desk for myself. I already have an idea, but it will be for another video. I also need a chair. Now, the plan for the table saw is to extend the work area so that I can cut up to 1.2, 1.3 meters. My plan is to cut a piece of the sheet metal and create a metal frame underneath and extend the guide. Now, for our casting benches, I didn't have time to explain it last week, but we made them level and square. When we put them in place, because the floor is uneven and unlevel, they were all over the place. So what we've been doing and what I'm gonna continue to do this week is to level them to create a nice flat surface between them, then fix them off the floor. Each is unique, and create a nice flat area where we can work on and rely that we'll get perfect results every time. Now, we've made 4 casting benches. Each is 2 meters long and 1 meter wide, creating an overall casting area of 8 square meters. The great thing about making the table saw bench out of metal is that it also doubles up as a casting bench. Now, I also want to say thank you to everyone. We received very positive feedback from our first video in the workshop. I know that it wasn't perfect, and to some extent you couldn't really understand what was happening. There was a lot that had to be done in a short amount of time, so I didn't really have time to explain, go into detail, but moving forward I will do better and explain as much as possible and show you as much as possible.
Now, the plan for these videos is to be as real as possible, and I really appreciate all the feedback that we received. It's been very helpful. One of the things that I was told is that I shouldn't drink coffee on camera, and it's tea. I drink tea, it's not coffee. No, actually it's... I went ahead and cleared up the area around the table saw, so I have space to work. I've moved the dust extractor just to make sure I don't damage it. I've measured the size for the extension of the table, and now I'm marking where I need to cut. The table saw extension table on the right side is finished. It's nice and level with the table saw. It's stable. The next task is to extend the guide. This is what we want to see. The bubble is right in the middle. Nice and level. Now I've cut the extension guide and decided to check how it would fit, and I think it worked out pretty well. The plan to fix it to the existing one is to use this channel. I would probably use an angle line, drill some holes, and use this type of bolt to fix it in place. Which I think would work great because the angle line would allow me to weld to the subframe. Now here's how it's gonna work in theory. You have the bolt locking in. The first issue that I'm having is that the bolts that I want to use are a little bit longer, which is not an issue. I can mark their position and drill through the guide so that the bolt can go through and lock the angle line in place. But I've got a bolt right here that is stopping me. So I think that we'll have to cut the angle line. Once I mark the position, cut a notch so that the bolt can go around. Now, in my infinite wisdom, I've decided to leave no tolerance, which resulted in a snap bolt and one that got locked in place. So I had to cut both of them off. So take two. Let's hope everything goes to plan. Right, so I've got the small guide already in place because there's a small notch that goes around this corner. It's part of the design, definitely not a mistake. Let's see, it's good so far. Now the hard part about these bolts is that I need to tighten them on the tension down so that the locking nut can stay in the groove in the guide, but also make sure that it's not on an angle so it can fit through the hole that I've allowed in the guide. Okay, I think that's fine. Let's line this up. So same thing on the tension down. Nope. Nope, I snapped the bolt. No. and it was the last bolt. Third time's a charm. So after some trial and error, the guide is in place. It has 2 locking bolts on each side. I've put a reinforcement plate and also a piece that runs all the way through the channel, and that guarantees that it's perfectly aligned. And also I've made sure that it's a nice continuous straight line. So the table saw bench is officially complete. So I'll go ahead and cross it off the list. Now the next thing on the list are the casting benches. I need to level and fix the last 2. But since I'm alone today, I think it makes more sense to work on the things that I can do on my own. So I will make the A-frame, then I'll organize, because somewhere in the boxes are the parts for the vibrating table, and hopefully I'll be able to make that as well, the vibrating table. If there's any time left, I'll keep organizing, and if there's even more time at the end of the day, I'll try to do the benches on my own. And we have a new A-frame. It's all done, pretty happy with it. It's the biggest A-frame we've had so far. It's 12 at noon, so I'm finishing up right on time. I need to jump on a couple of Zoom calls, and as soon as I'm done, we keep going. So the idea for the vibrating table is for it to double up as additional workspace on the bench for the table saw. Here's how it's gonna work. We have the table saw bench. So this is our max level. I wanna be 2 millimeters lower. We'll have a metal sheet, a steel frame, then rubber dampeners, then another metal frame, and underneath we'll have casters. That is the idea behind the vibrating table. The table itself will have a top frame. The motor will be attached to it. I want to put a current regulator, and then you have the plug. So we just need to make it. Now the first thing I need to do is figure out the height of the bench. This will not be easy because the floor is uneven, so I will take the dimension for the highest for the part where the floor is the highest or the lowest height of the bench. Okay, so the bench height varies between 880 and 890 millimeters, and it's only because the floor is really uneven. We know for sure that the bench is nice and flat is we were building it with a laser level, and then we checked everything with a spirit level. So the height of the vibrating table is going to be 880 millimeters. Now, the only dimension that I'm missing is the thickness of the rubber dampeners that I put between the top frame of the vibrating table and the main frame. Right here. So I guess it's time to start organizing and find the rubber dampeners. Alright, I did organize some of our tools and I found what I was looking for. Here are the rubber bushings that will stay between the main frame and the top frame of the vibrating table. And I also found the bigger vibrating motor. I've also got a smaller one for a small vibrating table, but that is going to be a project for another time. I measured these and they're 25 millimeters, so now we have the height for the main frame for the vibrating table. Let's get to work. Alright, so the main frame for the vibrating table is complete. We have the wheels on and the rubber dampeners on. Here's the top part of the main frame, and the rubber bushings or dampeners are attached to the main frame. There's the rubber, and on top of that we'll put the top frame and the vibrating motor will be attached to it. It's very simple and yet hard to achieve. And with that, all the welding for the vibrating table is done. What is left is for me to cut the base plates where the vibrating motor will be attached to, and the top plate. You may have noticed that I've changed my mind on the design. The vibrating table is lower than the workbench for the table saw, because I thought it's better to have it at a good height for the casting benches, and I can always use some pieces to build up the height whenever I need it to help me on the workbench. I hope it works out. If it doesn't, I'll just change it. Wow. So I'm done with the vibrating table. The only thing left is the casting plate, but that can be done at any time. It just needs to be cut and screwed in place. The only thing left right now is to test if it works. So you can regulate the vibration. I think that's it for today. I'll clear up. I might stay and move some things around, but tomorrow we're gonna pick up from where we left it. We'll do the casting plate for the vibrating table. We still need to level and fix the casting benches, more organizing, do a final clear up and like find a place for everything. We do need to figure out how to fix the chop saw and find a good place for all of our sink molds besides the casting benches, so that Wednesday we can start casting.